The NHL season. One side getting its name engraved on the Stanley Cup, and the other, longest handshake line ever. Steve Levy, Game 7 is yours.
All right, guys, thank you. Yes, so off the bench and into the celebration, and probably at some point a limousine to South Beach. As the Florida Panthers will enjoy this one tonight, tomorrow, and forever. And obviously a bitter pill to swallow for Conn and McDavid, the Edmonton Oilers. Sasha Barkov leads the way, and they're going to hang a banner in Amerant Bank Arena here in Sunrise, Florida, the home of the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Joined as always by Mark Messier and PK Subban, and for a series that looked very much like a Florida sweep, we wound up getting a 7-game classic out of it. It was remarkable.
Yeah, it really was. It was incredible to see Florida actually all year play the style that they did. They're entertaining kind of game, swashbuckling, pressure, forecheck, and they were unrelenting through the whole playoffs. They stumbled in the final series against Edmonton. They lost their way a little bit, but somehow or another going into Game 7, they trusted their game, they trusted the coach, they trusted their formula that they was so successful for them, and sure enough, they came out with a victory today in a 2-1 game.
Here are all the pretty pictures from South FLA, scoreless, and 5 minutes in, Carter Verhaeghe to Evan Rodriguez, and the redirect by Verhaeghe.
Yeah, that was, you know what, they had a power play, could barely get set up, and they kept it simple. They put pucks to the net, they got bodies in front. That's the Florida Panthers game, and that's where Carter Verhaeghe scores a lot of his goals.
It's a great tip. That shot is going into the corner
tip
if he doesn't tip. And just over 2 minutes later, Oilers on the rush. Matthias Janmark on Sergei Bobrovsky. And there's a celebration. The breakaway game for Edmonton was brilliant.
Incredible breakout pass over 2 or 3 sticks here to hit a high-flying Janmark. And look at the move Janmark makes against Bobrovsky. What a goal at the correct time, at a crucial time to get them back in the game.
They go to the same spot on Bobrovsky, too, right in between that stick and blocker.
Not just
nice
a hug.
kiss.
That was a kiss.
Oh, yeah. That's the time of year it is.
Late in the second period, we're tied at 1. Warren Fogle trying to dig it out. Dmitry Kulikov knocks it away.
Unbelievable. I said it starts with defense. You got to play solid defense. They sacrifice the body, and you get rewarded for it. Sam Reinhart, welcome to the Stanley Cup final.
Really waiting on Verhaeghe and Reinhart, and they both scored tonight to give Florida the 2-1 lead.
You can see how many times have we seen this in hockey, though? He goes one way, just barely misses, come back the other way, and Reinhart, you let him walk in like that, he's got a tremendous shot there, and he just handcuffs Skinner to just the inside the elbow in the body.
Teams are 13-1 in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, leading after 2. The only team to lose, the 1942 Red Wings. The only team, still the only team now to blow a 3-0 series lead in the Stanley Cup Final. The cup is out. We hadn't seen it since Game 1, pregame. Remember, they brought it out the first time. And then the Edmonton Oilers had a major push in the third period, and that's when Sergei Bobrovsky was at his best here on Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, Forsling, and I talked about it, the best shutdown defenseman in the game gets a heavy stick on Connor McDavid. Montour gets a heavy stick on Hyman. Those have been their 2 best forwards the whole playoffs all season long. And it took a big defensive play to put this one away.
Under 4 minutes left now. It's still a 1-goal game. Darnell Nurse, the shot stopped. Puck to Bouchard. His shot blocked. Bobrovsky loses his stick. Wild scramble. And again, the Oilers can't find one.
They really started the pressure at the end. And one of the problems that the Oilers had towards the end there is they were leaning on a few guys to kind of carry the load the last 5 or 6 minutes. You could see towards the last minute they got really tired. Legs got heavy. And Florida did a great job defending. They stayed in the middle of the ice. They made everything happen from the outside. And, of course, when they did get through, Bobrovsky was there to help the day today.
So the GM, Bill Zito, is dancing like you guys were pregame.
Oh, gee.
Panthers have the puck trapped in the corner. And this is kind of Florida Panther hockey. They just ate it in the corner and ate up the final 10 seconds or so. And the celebration was underway.
Yeah, well, defense, I said it before. I've lost in the Stanley Cup final. And it's all about defense for me. And for the Florida Panthers, that's their identity. And they showed it today. They were the better team.
You saw all the rats on the ice, reminiscent of the first time they went to the Stanley Cup Final back in '96 in the old Miami Arena. Good on Paul Maurice and all of the Florida Panthers Stanley Cup champs. Florida Panthers are the third team in the NHL's expansion era to win a Stanley Cup after losing in the previous season, along with the Penguins in 2008, Oilers in 1984. Both Pittsburgh and Edmonton avenged losses to teams they played in the previous season, while the Panthers defeated Edmonton after losing to Vegas 1 year ago. We heard from a bunch of the Florida Panthers, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. That's the way they want to win. That's their style of game. That's how they win. It's the first one-goal game in the entire 7-game series, and we thought this was how Florida had to play to be successful, and they were successful here in Game 7.
Well, it's always interesting after the series to get into the minds of what the players were thinking through the 3-game losses. And going into this game, we talked about, could the Florida Panthers trust their game and get back to their game, and would that game be good enough to beat the Edmonton Oilers the way they were playing? And sure enough, it was. They got back to their identity. They got on the forecheck. They got on the body. For the most part, they covered up the middle of the ice pretty good. That what you talked about all series there. They played Florida Panther hockey, but they trusted it, and that's the most important thing. You got to believe that your game is good enough to win in the Game 7, and sure enough, it was for them tonight.
Every team in the National Hockey League is built a certain way. You have to understand how you're going to have success the way your team is built. The way they played tonight, that has brought them immense success. Maybe not the ultimate success, but when it's all said and done, that identity is what allowed them to hoist the Stanley Cup tonight. So you can't forget that. And I think playing against, just being recently removed from the league, playing against them, I know what their great qualities are, and it's defense first, and they showed it tonight. They were the best team on the ice.
Wait, you were removed from the league?
Well, recently removed. I mean,
got it.
It's been a couple of years.
Retired.
Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know if they forcibly removed you or how that worked out. So I think we all agree the Florida Panthers showed great team depth. The better team, as you guys both just said. Maybe the higher-end talent is on Edmonton. And that gets us to Connor McDavid, who, while he didn't register a single point in Game 6 nor 7, he saved the Oilers in the series, keeping them alive in Games 4 and 5. Here he was post-game.
It's difficult. It's difficult. You got to go through a grueling season. It's long. You got to go through 4 high-end opponents, and you got to beat them 4 times. I mean, it's as difficult to do as you can think. Like it's tough. Guys that have won it say the same thing. It's tough. We never stopped believing. We really believed. We really believed we were going to get one, and have that one in front. Zach has a whack at it. Bush has got all kinds of looks. We had lots of looks. Just didn't go.
Connor McDavid wins the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. Not in the Stanley Cup Final, the entire 4 rounds of the playoffs, after breaking Wayne Gretzky's record for assists in one playoff year and joining Gretz and Mario as the only players in league history with 40-plus points in a single postseason. Mess must have been in a slump. He didn't make that list. McDavid joins Reggie Leach as the only non-goalies to win that award on a losing squad. So that's something. So for Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers, you guys okay with him winning the Conn Smythe? I got the sense both of you thought it has to come from the winning team. As you now have time to think about it, you okay with McDavid winning that award?
Well, I don't think you can put into perspective how great he was in this postseason that people are going to understand. As guys that played the game, we're watching every game. We're watching him out there closely, and he was unbelievable. But I know this, and Mess, you're going to get to speak on it in a second. We saw certain qualities this postseason that you want to see in a leader, and he's developed those quickly. He's learned quickly, and he applied it to his team. Yeah,
I don't think anybody can argue that Connor McDavid was the best player in the playoffs. The argument really comes to whether someone from the losing team should win the Conn Smythe. I mean, you could look at Bobrovsky. Without Bobrovsky, they don't win the Stanley Cup.
Yep.
Is that Conn Smythe worthy, performance? Obviously it is. So it's really kind of gets back down to a debate, but nobody's going to argue that Connor McDavid was special, very special in these playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Face of the league. Did the league proud, even the losing effort.
He did.
Yep.
Canada still 31 years plus and waiting for another season, try to win a Stanley Cup there. And we'll get an Evan on the Stanley Cup for the first time. Evan Rodriguez of the Panthers, the first ever Evan to have his name on the Stanley Cup. That's the story from South Florida, home of the Stanley Cup champs, the Florida Panthers. Back to you guys.